Hello, everybody, and welcome to Celebration and our Toastmasters. We are so excited to have everyone here today. We have an awesome speech coming. I just know it. So, with that, let's go ahead and get started. Tina, can you open with a word of prayer? John, could you please say the Pledge of Allegiance? And Lisa, could you please read the club mission? I'm gonna put her in. Tina, could you open with a word of prayer? You're muted.
I'm so sorry. That's not what thank you. I will. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to come together today and to grow in our leadership and speaking abilities and in our self-confidence. We look forward to a wonderful meeting, and we hope that by recording this meeting that some of our friends out there will find out how wonderful Toastmasters really is. Lord, we thank you so much for this day and this opportunity. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Thank you, everyone. And we have an educational award to present today. Very exciting. Tina, congratulations on achieving your level 1 motivational strategies. How many level 1s is this for you? Like 8? 4.
Oh, just
okay.
4.
Okay. Yay. Well, that is very exciting. I'm excited to hear your next your level 2 stuff. So yay. Okay. So I am the president of the club, but I am also the Toastmaster today. So I am just going to move right in to the meeting at this point. Today we're going to learn a lot about Toastmasters and what it does and what you can do with it. Because a lot of people don't realize that Toastmasters is more than just public speaking. And I think Tina is going to touch on a lot of that. So at this moment, I am going to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator of the day, and she is going to tell us about her role and her team and all that they do. Lisa.
Thank you for that, Madam President and Madam Toastmasters. Thank you. The purpose of the general evaluator is to evaluate everything that takes place throughout the meeting. During the meeting, I will take notes on everything that happens and doesn't happen. I will evaluate each participant on the meeting program and look for examples of preparation, organization, delivery, enthusiasm, observation, and performance duties. To help me along with my general evaluation, I have a team. Cami as the WAG master and LeVar as the timer. I'm going to let them now explain their roles to you. Let's start with LeVar.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Today I'll be serving as a timer. I will be timing all the general evaluations. I'll be timing the speech, which will be between 10 and 12 minutes. And I'll be timing the table topics. So as far as the speech is concerned, at 10 minutes, I'll hold up the green card. At 11 minutes, I'll hold up the 11. At 11 minutes, I'll hold up the yellow. And at 12 minutes, I'll hold up the red. For the evaluations, they'll be between 2 and 3 minutes. So at 2 minutes, I'll hold up the green. At 2.5 minutes, the yellow. And at 3 minutes, the red. And for the table topics, they will be between 1 and 2 minutes. So at 1 minute, I'll hold up the green. 1.5 minutes, I'll hold up the yellow. And at 2 minutes, I'll hold up the red. And at the end, I will give my report of the times. Thank you. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. That was a great timer report of what timers do. And now it's over to you, Cami, to explain your duties as WAG master.
Thank you, Lisa. My job as the WAG master I wear 3 hats. I give the word of the day, the odd counter, and the grammarian. So as the grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take note of any improper language as well as any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. As the grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day. So the word of the day is, you ready, drum roll, is punctilious. I said it so wrong, y'all. It's an adjective. It means physically beautiful that Tina has in the chat right now. I'm gonna read what she has. I have something different. And calmly. And the example I have is Dan gazed admiringly at the punctilious brunette. And then at the end of the meeting, I will see how many people have said the word of the day. And also, as the all counter, I'm going to pay close attention to crutch words or pause fillers by anyone who speaks during the meeting. I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, and our favorite, you know. I will also listen for filler sounds, including and I will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase such as I, or this means. At the end of the meeting, I will give my report on everything. Back to you, Lisa.
That was wonderful. Thank you. And this is such a bunch of plunker tedious people, even if that was not a beautiful way to say it. Thank you. Back to you, Catherine.
Oh, this is going to be a fun meeting. Thank you, Lisa. That was excellent job as general evaluator. I did not do an excellent job because I didn't even explain my role. I'm realizing as you explained yours. So as the Toastmaster today, I will be the MC of the meeting. So I will be making sure we run on time and that everybody is speaking when they're supposed to be. But also as the Toastmaster, I get to introduce our speakers. And we have one speaker today who is extremely pulchritutinous. And I would love to go ahead and read her introduction, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Our speaker today recently completed all of the levels of presentation mastery in the Toastmasters Pathways Education Program. Today, she will reflect on her path, sharing with you how she approached each project and what she learned overall. Please welcome distinguished Toastmaster and past district director, Tina Gilliott, with her presentation entitled, My Favorite Things.
Blog posts and podcasts and research and speeches, sharing the knowledge that no one else teaches, leading and gaining the wisdom that brings. These are a few of my favorite things. Managing difficult people with patience, moving my body and making some faces, answering questions and breaking the ice. All of your feedback was helpful and nice. Finishing projects, wrapping up levels. When my pathway's done, I celebrate every accomplishment. Then I start with another one. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. As Catherine noted, I just wrapped up the presentation mastery pathway. It's one of the more popular paths among our members. A lot of our members have done that path. And so for me, I wasn't so sure there was anything left to do or left to learn. I had worked through the innovative planning path and through the engaging humor path, and I thought, I've done it all. I don't need to do another path, but I did anyway. And I decided to approach the presentation mastery path a little differently. I worked really hard to try to make the projects meaningful and creative. And I'm going to share with you in my usual obsessive compulsive way every single project I did and how I approached it. But I'm going to give you a little bit more detail on my favorite projects. And I will say that it was a pulchritudinous journey through the presentation mastery path. So level one was a typical level one. It started with the icebreaker speech. And y'all, not only had I done 3 icebreakers or 2 icebreakers in Pathways, but I had also done 3 icebreakers in the legacy program. So this was my 6th icebreaker speech. Now, there's a world champion that always notes that if you can't come up with 7 minutes to talk about your life, then there's an issue. And I had plenty to talk about, but I wanted to do something creative. And so this year, or this pathway, my icebreaker was all about stories and pictures. And I had 62 years at that time worth of photos to share with you guys. And I did that and told some stories that were related. And it was just a fun and creative way to approach the icebreaker. Then the second project in the level one is also typical of level one, evaluation and feedback. And I used Toastmasters to help me prepare for a presentation I was doing for a webinar for a ladies group. I actually did Recipe for a Great Speech, where I talked about developing and presenting great speeches, but I did it with a twist where it was sort of like building a recipe. And the reason I chose to do that was because the leader of the group that I was presenting to was married to a chef, and she was very much a foodie, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to do that. It went over so well with your feedback that I was able to incorporate that feedback, present it to you again, get additional feedback, and then present that same presentation, not only at the original group it was intended for, but at another meeting as well. And then I moved on to researching and presenting. And you guys, I lucked out because I was dreading this project, but I received an email from my brother one day, and it was with a link to some information about a lawsuit that he had discovered our paternal grandmother was involved in. I had a lot of fun with that. My brother said, I know you like to research. And I thought, wow, I have a project that I need to research, and this will be perfect. So I actually had a lot of fun with this. When I researched it, discovered that my grandmother's lawsuit that she was involved in, she was suing the company my grandfather had worked for when he died. It was actually a case precedent for a lot of other cases. So it set legal precedent for some other cases. And I was able to share all of that information with you guys, but not just with you. I researched it and shared it with all of my cousins and my relatives, and everybody got a big kick out of reading it. So that one was a lot of fun as well. And then in level 2, there were 3 projects, and the first one was understanding your communication style. Now, I had done the project before, but hadn't really thought about it in the same way that I thought about it this time. I took the test, and I really tried to imagine how I was like the supportive communicator that they said I was. The supportive communicator is one that gives empathy and is open and welcoming to people who come to them. Thus, the title of my speech, Who You Gonna Call? And the answer was Tina. And I shared with you guys all the ways people would always approach me and ask for my help with things. And I learned that that was because of my supportive communication style. Then there was the introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. And I had done this project twice before as well. And so I was challenged this time to think of another mentor story to tell you in my presentation. It was all about learning what Toastmasters mentoring program is about, but then sharing a story of a mentor you'd had in or outside of Toastmasters. Well, after doing it twice, I felt like it was only fair to give the person I had spent the most time with in 42 years the opportunity to be recognized as a mentor of mine. And now it's 43 years and we're still going and I'm still learning, but I'm sure he learns a lot from me as well. And then the last project was called Effective Body Language. It was all about incorporating body language and facial expressions into your speeches. And I felt like I did that pretty naturally, but I deliberately chose a topic that would lend itself to body language. I told the story of how AJ and I got engaged while we were on a fishing trip, and I fell out of the boat, and I used that opportunity to use a lot of body language and crazy facial expressions, mostly like when I was looking at AJ, the way I would look at him like he was crazy. That gave me a lot of facial expressions. But that was a really fun project too, and it gave me an opportunity to be really creative. Level 3 led me to the persuasive speaking project. And you guys, if I thought I didn't like the research project and was putting it off, this one I avoided like the plague. I actually went back to this one at the end of level 3 and finished it, even though it's listed as the first project. I hate trying to persuade anybody anything. In my mind, it was asking me to be a used car salesman, and I wasn't having it, so I didn't want to do it. But there happened to be a meeting when our speaker, our only speaker, had to bail at the last minute because of an emergency. And so we had like overnight to figure out who was going to speak. I took this opportunity to get my persuasive speaking project out of the way, but I used the whole situation as my speech. I talked about the fact that we were literally speechless until I stepped up. And I had a lot of fun with it, used it as a way to persuade our members to start working ahead in pathways and actually begin scheduling yourselves to speak. And so that was a lot of fun. Then there were electives that I could choose from, and I chose the social speeches elective because AJ also chose that. And we were able to work together. Now, the social speeches is the project where you can roast somebody or do a toast, or you can present or receive an award. So what AJ and I did was I presented him an award and he presented me an award. And so then we both got credit for the 2 speeches because I had to do my presentation of the award and my receipt of the award he was giving me. And then he did likewise. So we each got our 2 speeches done. And that was a lot of fun. And then we had an elective that I had to choose. And I went straight to my fallback one. Admittedly, this is one I loved and I knew I was going to have fun with it. Creating visual aids. So it's all about using some type of visual aid. I probably could have challenged myself to do something other than PowerPoint, but let's face it, I'm really good at PowerPoint. And so I chose to stick with what I knew. But I had fun with the topic because Phil Verona, who is one of our past district governors in Toastmasters, it's the old title that they use for a past district director. Phil has a philosophy that is an event is successful and you know it's successful if 2 things happen. You learn something and you have fun. And so I shared Phil's philosophy with you and how we could use that to move forward with an open house that was coming up. And then in level 4, my favorite project, managing a difficult audience. This is where members of our club would pretend to be difficult audience members, although I have to say, you guys were not real difficult. But I had to gracefully manage the situation while also acknowledging the contributions of the people in the audience. I think I did a pretty decent job. It was a lot of fun for sure. And then I chose to do the elective on the Q&A session. And what I did was Chick had been encouraging me as the Vice President of Education to share with you guys some of the meeting role responsibilities. And so I did mastering meeting roles and actually turned that into videos that we put on our club website. So that worked out great. But I learned a lot from that, particularly that you guys had a lot of questions and I had to be prepared for that. And then in level 5, it's the big project in presentation mastery. LeVar just did it. It's where you have to do 18 to 22 minutes of a presentation or training, and then also act like a professional speaker in the process. And so I had done so well, or gotten such great feedback from you guys about the Mastering Meeting Roles presentation, I decided to do a more detailed presentation about the speaker, the evaluator, and the Toastmaster roles, which is the set in Ready, Set, Go. And that worked out well. Also recorded that and used it as a training video. And then the elective I chose was leading in your volunteer organization. I had been a leader in Toastmasters for 13 or 14 years. And so I felt it was time for me to evaluate how well I had done with that. And you guys were very helpful in providing your feedback. And I was able to share all about my time in service. Now, the whole point of this reflection is that I'm supposed to share with you the lessons that I learned along the way. And I have to share that I didn't realize until I started going through the evaluations that everyone had given me on the various projects that the majority of the feedback I got related to my online presence. The fact that online speaking is different from in-person speaking. And this pathway was done primarily online because I started it right about the time that COVID happened. So the feedback that I got had to do with the background in the room, or the microphone not working as well, or different problems with the PowerPoint that I was sharing. And I think over time, I've gotten better with that, thanks to your feedback. And then I also learned that you need to make your point early on, because several times I was told, don't forget to share with us what your point is at the beginning, because once you get way into your speech, we lose it. And then finally, manage the time allotted wisely. With the Q&A, I learned that you have to allow more time for questions when it's a detailed topic. And so that went well. But ladies and gentlemen, these are a few of my favorite things. Madam Toastmaster.
Yay. Thank you, Tina. When I read the title of your speech, I was like, oh, she's going to sing again. I just knew it. I was very excited. And it was extremely pulchritudinous singing. Excellent job. Those I was just thinking those speeches are really hard too, where you have to go back through and rehash everything you did. Those can be really difficult. At this point in the meeting, we are going to move on to our table topics, and I am going to let John tell you about table topics. John?
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. Wonderful speech, Tina. Wow. And hey, great graphics. I loved it. I learned a bunch. I was studying it as it went. I thought that I would mention that in Oregon, the word pulchritudinous has a special use. The police use it as a sobriety test. Thought I'd throw that out to you, just to throw it out. Okay, so today I have some questions for you. I'll give them to you, and then I'll ask someone to actually take that challenge. So here is one. Who is your favorite speaker that you might model yourself after, or that you have modeled yourself after, and why? And that goes to the bottom right of my screen, which is LeVar in Toronto. LeVar,
Thank you for that question. So, the speaker that first pops to mind is a person that I heard a long time ago by the name of Les Brown. He was very impactful to me because he was very inspirational and his speech was very powerful. If I c- if I could model myself after anybody, it probably would be him, just because of the impact that he has, and he has a lot of things that he has said that have stuck with me throughout the years. And although me, the way I speak, I'm kind of more calm, and he's maybe a little bit more outgoing. However, I feel that that's something that I can learn from him. And if there is anybody that I can choose to model, it would be him. I'm timing myself. I forgot. I'm supposed to be timing myself. So
Have you made a
so
minute yet?
yeah, that's pretty much who I would choose to be Les Brown. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your remarks about Les Brown. I'll look him up. I'm sure that he's somebody that could inspire me also. Now here's one that may seem a little bit out in left or right field or whatever, but when you think about it, maybe not so much. I have noticed over the years that some of the speakers that I admire the very most for their skill, their timing, their ability are great comedians. And so I would ask you, in asking this question, who's your favorite comedian, and what about them is something you'd like to take into your life and your speaking? And I'm going to share that with the bottom left of my screen, which is Lisa in New York. Lisa?
Well, thank you for that very interesting question. I agree. I think comedians are generally really good public speakers and they have to think fast on their feet. My favorite comedians, I have so many, and some are more PC than others. Uh, I really love Ellen DeGeneres. I think she's really funny. Um, I like her sort of sarcastic sense of humor. Uh, I also liked Eddie Murphy a lot growing up. He he comes across as sweet, but he says some really bad things. I think I like him less now as I'm older, and I don't want my niece and nephew to watch him. So I realize there's just so many great comedians, and now that you've asked me about this, it's really hard to think off the top of my head. Chris Rock is another comedian I really like. I like the way he talks about life. He's very circumspect, which I think is very important when you're speaking publicly, to see both sides of the story and um, really question things, which a lot of comedians do. So thank you so much for that question. And back to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. You caught that pitch and shot it right back. Good job. Now, my next question. Do you have a role model of leader, someone you would really admire, and whose qualities you would like to bring into your life, your speaking, and your leadership? And that's on you, Catherine.
Oh, I knew I was going to get
Opportunitously.
that. I had a feeling I was going to get that question. Do I have a leader in my life that I look up to? Well, I have a lot of leaders in my life, and actually, it's kind of synonymous with mentors, I think. And I just did a speech for Toastmasters for the district conference, actually about some of my favorite mentors and about the ones that have had the most impact on my life. And some of you have heard me talk about this person before, but there's a woman in my life named Ellen who is 70. No, she's in her 80s now. Oops. She's like 81. I met her when I was 14 or 15. She was a client of my dad's. She brought her dog to my dad, and it's a long story, but basically she is the person who taught me how to make jewelry. And so that's how our relationship began. And she's 81 and I'm 35, right? So we have a very, very large gap in our age. And we just clicked really well. We see the world the same way, kind of. She is just a very cool lady. She has a lot of different experiences. She's been married several times. She, again, it's a long story, but she was thrown out of her home and had to raise two kids on her own when she was 15. She has worked in insurance. She has worked as she was in the Navy. She is an artist. She sold, I said she sold insurance. She did antiquing. I mean, she knows literally if you need to know something, like my car is broken, my boyfriend is being a jerk, my dad won't leave me alone, the dog is driving me nuts. Literally, Ellen has an answer for everything. And she has this saying, well, she has two sayings. One is, been there, done that, got that t-shirt. She says it all the time. Second one is, and this too shall pass. And I think having that balance, I've learned by example of how to live from her. And in my mind, that makes her a really good leader. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Catherine. Wow. Well, see, LeVar has shared with us his admiration for Les Brown. Lisa has shared with us the comedians that she likes for Good Mouse and Bad Mouse. And Catherine has shared with us the wonders of her friend Ellen. And now I'm going to throw out to one of you, what would you most like to improve on as a speaker? What's your next step? And that goes to Cami.
Thank you, John. I had a feeling you were going to ask me that question. Well, first of all, for being Area 14 director this year, I noticed I have not been giving many speeches. This year, this coming up, I'm going to be focusing more on speaking in general. And I do have a project I need to do. It's a level 4. It's one of my electives. It's a communication plan. And I still have not, I keep working on it, but then I get off of it. So that's one thing I really want to focus on, is to finish my path, because I'm at the end of it. And I think this would be the best time and opportunity to do this, because these speeches are a little bit more challenging and I have to really put them together more. I do have a communication plan I made when I was in grad school, but I want to do something different. Not something I already written. I want to do something fresh, and I haven't looked at this paper in 5 years probably, but I might take some stuff from the paper and make it my own. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Cami. Thank you. Well, Cami shared with us how she'd like to go back and look at a paper she wrote for guidance and try something new and fresh from that. Lastly, I got to get everybody today. It's my thing today. I don't know if it's pulchritudinous or not, but it's fun. And here we go. And we know who's going to get this, because you're the only one left. What is the most important leadership quality you have yet to develop after all those that you have? Tina, to you.
Could you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Sure. What is the most important leadership quality you have yet to develop that you'd like to?
Delegation. I worked on that so much when I was district director of District 68 from 2016 to 2017. Muhammad was second in command, Muhammad Qayyum. Most of y'all know him or have heard me talk about him. And he was always worried about how much time I spent serving Toastmasters. And he would say, it's not a full-time job, Tina. It is supposed to be easier than this. It's volunteer. And so he was trying to get me to learn how to delegate. And I was just struggling with it so bad. I got better with it as the year went on, but I still need a lot of work on delegation. You guys know that within this club, I'm terrible about delegating. And so I'm trying to think if I'm like that with other organizations. Yeah, I am. I still need to work on delegation. So if anybody has any tips about that, please, please let me know.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you. And so I am going to do my best to learn to delegate and ship it back to you, Catherine, Toastmaster.
Thank you, John. Those are some extremely pulchritudinous answers, everyone. Excellent job. I was telling Tina the other day that I had a situation where I had to come up with some content, some information on the fly while I was also multitasking. And man, table topics really helps. I mean, this had nothing to do with Toastmasters, but it's amazing how you learn how to do that, like in real life from table topics. It was very helpful. I'm just gonna say it had to do with paint and a puppet from outer space. It's gonna be very exciting. There, watch my socials. I'll be announcing that later.
Great.
And with
Great.
that, moving on, we are now going to go into the evaluation portion of our meeting. And to lead that portion, I am going to turn the meeting back over to our general evaluator, Lisa Kramer.
So do we not have somebody to evaluate Tina's speech? Is that
Correct.
we-
We're going to do a round robin today.
okay? All right. So if we're doing a round robin, I'm going to start all the way at the end of my screen with LeVar.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I wasn't aware we were going to do a round robin. However, it was a pulchritudinous speech, Tina. Congratulations. I thought the speech was done very well. What I thought stood out the most was the slides, the way the slides were done. They're easy on your eyes. And the structure of your speeches, how you listed the different things that you've taken, and also gave an explanation for each one and your experience with them. So all in all, I wasn't expecting to evaluate anyone, but those are the things that I noticed about your speech, and good job. Thank you. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. That was great, LeVar. Next up on my screen, I'm going to just go down the row is Cami.
Thank you, Lisa. Tina, I enjoyed listening to your speech and the reflection of all the speeches you did, because I was there for a lot of them, probably all of them. And it's always fun to hear the speeches you went through in the past, because it brings back memories, and especially the reflection of Chick, what he wanted you to do more of. I was focusing more on the grammarian part of things, so I didn't listen to a lot of the speech, but well done. Your PowerPoint is very easily looked at, and also I enjoyed your singing, and you'll hear more of that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Cami. Now, John.
What I was most impressed about was the smoothness of the transitions. You flowed from slide to slide and from singing to presenting. Great. I mean, wow. I'm going to copy that all I can. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was hoping that you asked me the table topic question of who to emulate, because I feel like Tina is one of my favorite speakers and she's just such a joy to watch. But I will get to that when it's my turn. Right now it's Catherine's.
Yes, Lisa, I think I would have maybe said that too, except that it would not be the same effect if I sang. So with the singing, I was extremely impressed. I mean, first of all, Tina, you sing really well. Second of all, that was an excellent parody, like really well done. And my dad used to do parodies for our Christmas party every year, and so it kind of brought back a lot of that. It was, although his were dirtier and political, but but that was really, really good. I thought it did flow really well. I did kind of feel like there was somewhere around level 3 and 4 that I was like, okay, this is starting to feel a little bit like a list. But I mean, it's really hard to make it not feel like that. So also I loved your slides, and that's like a big thing coming from me because I'm usually really picky about visual things. So excellent job. Yeah, I loved it. Great speech, Lisa.
Thank you, Catherine. I agree. I loved it too. I thought it was so entertaining. The minutes just flew by. I also love the singing very much. The only thing I would say is I wanted more. Like, even though we were listening to them, I wanted to hear the speeches because they were so enticing and wonderful sounding. And I had been there for some of them, but not all of them. So one thing that we have in common is when I give my speeches, I tend to speak very quickly. And that was always something that you said you've worked on. And I see that you've mastered that. Like, you do not speak too quickly. I thought it was smooth, and I admire you so much. So thank you for that. All right. So now I think it's back to you, Madam Toastmaster, or okay. So
Oh,
now we're
talk
going
your
to do
team.
what?
Your team.
Okay, so now it's time for my team to give their reports. We're going to start with LeVar to give us timer report.
Thank you. So everyone did a pulchritudinous job with their timing. So as far as Tina's speech, you clocked in at 14 minutes and 38 seconds. And for your table topics answer was about 1 minute. I was kind of distracted with the table topics because of the answers and stuff. Catherine, you came in at 2 minutes with your answer, table topics. Cami, 1 minute and 19 seconds, and myself under a minute. And Lisa, you're just about under a minute as well. Yeah, so everybody did a great job. Thank you. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. For the next report, we're going to go to Cami to give her WAG report.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, it was very lenient for us, the odd counter, because I was trying to focus on the grammarian, because I always omit that. But I did do a great job on everyone using the word of the day. I even counted me when I gave the word of the day. I cheated. But Tina did the word of the day twice, Lisa once, Catherine 3 times, LeVar twice, John 3 times, and I did one. I cheated. If I missed any more, but it wasn't hard to find. For the odd counter, Lisa one one so, and there was a repeated, not repeated, but double crutch, like, and Catherine had 2 3 one like, and a repeated and. LeVar had 1 so, I had an and yeah. Tina, I liked how you sang from my favorite things from Sound of Music. I could not remember the movies, how to look it up real fast, and how you made it in your own words as your speech introduction, and like Catherine said, it's a parody, and I couldn't think of what it was. And the delegation of your leadership quality of growing into delegation is very hard, because you have to trust the person you're delegating and trust they're going to do it, and people are not going to do it the way you want it to. So it's really hard to let go of that part. Great job. LeVar, I like how you talked about Les Brown, the speaker you admire the most, which is cool. I do have to look up Les Brown. Lisa mentioned Ellen DeGeneres. I used to like her, and then over time, she was a little too much for me. And Eddie Murphy, yes, very funny. And Chris Rock, very funny, but they are a little, well, Eddie Murphy's a little rough around the edges. Catherine, this shall pass passage from your friend you admire the most. Ellen, her name's Ellen, right? I really like that, and it was easy to pick these different quotes, expressions, and thoughts. That's it for my report. Give back to you, Ms. General Evaluator.
That was great. Thank you so much for that thoughtful WAG report. now I am just going to say we started the meeting 5 minutes late, but we made up the time and we're doing well. And we all got a table topic question, which was amazing. I think everyone did a really great job. I really enjoyed my quote of the day is from Ellen when she said, "Been there, done that, got the t-shirt." I love that. Thank you. Tina's speech was beautiful, and I think it was just a great meeting. So I'm super thrilled to be part of this Toastmasters. Thank you. And now back to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate everyone's roles today. Everyone did a great job. I think the meeting went really smoothly, and I hope that by recording this and you watching it out there in the interwebs off of YouTube, Facebook, whatever, you like us and come and visit us and come join us. We would love to have some new members. So at this point, I usually turn the meeting over. Well, as the Toastmaster, I would turn the meeting over to the president, which is also me. So I am just going to keep the meeting. We're going to take rolls and then we're going to sign off. So thank you everyone for watching, and we hope to hear from you.